Hello everyone, it is me Rizzyrez, and first thing, yes, I'm standing up in this video, and secondly, thank you for 1,000 subs. I know this celebration is coming just a little late, but still, I'm making this video because, well, it was really busy in the last month, and I tried to record this video and I didn't really like how it turned out, and the script is really long for this, and yep, it's just been really hard to make it. So I'm back now, and hopefully you enjoy this video. But to celebrate this milestone, many people have asked me before, how did I become a Ben 10 fan, or why did I fall in love with the franchise, or how did I get into this in the first place? Well, today is when I'm going to be retelling the story. Today, I'm going to be retelling the story about how I became a Ben 10 fan, how I got into the franchise in the first place, have I always liked it, if I had even a falling out at one point. This is my Ben 10 journey. Now, this isn't really like a tag video or anything, but if any Ben 10 YouTubers are watching this video, please make this video, because I'm sure your fans would love to see this, and I would love to see it as well, because then that would make me feel better about myself that I started something on YouTube. So, if any 10 tubers are watching this video, make this video. That covers everything in the intro stuff. So, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, I guess, if you want now. Grab some snacks, because this video is, I think, going to be pretty long. And yeah, let's get into what is my Ben 10 journey. Chapter 1, A New Dawn. Now it's currently June 2008 and my parents are in the hospital alongside my brother and sister, waiting for the biggest mistake of the decade to be born, me. Now, I was of course a baby in 2008, so I didn't really remember anything growing up about watching the show, but I have been told that I was watching the show on TV when I could. I was watching a lot of Alien Force at the time, because that was a show that was premiering when this was happening, and I also grew up on Ultimate Alien a lot. That is also the reason why Ultimate Alien is my favorite, just because I've got a lot of nostalgia for it. Now, even though I didn't remember actually watching Alien Force, I have been told by my family that I was watching it before I could even read. And by the way, if it seems really dark in this video, I've closed the curtain next to me like halfway because the sun is beaming right into my eye where I usually record, so I had to close it just a bit. So if it seems a bit dark, I'm sorry about that. Now, I had a teenage brother and sister growing up, and they didn't really have the bother to watch me, or really know how to watch me, so they kind of just turned on Channel 99 on the TV, which my Australian viewers would know is the channel where all the cartoons are held. I mainly grew up watching shows like Teen Titans and Ninjago and, of course, Ben 10. Not really much to cover in this chapter, so let's move on to Chapter 2. And then there were Ben. This chapter dawns my first memory of life, which was coincidentally my 4th birthday. Now, unlike other people in the Ben 10 community, I didn't just find out about Ben 10 one day. I didn't like randomly stumble across it on the TV once and just kind of got addicted to the franchise. I had what is called the data dump. When I had my first memory, I had like a data dump of Ben 10, mostly for Alien Force and Ultimate Alien though. I didn't really know little to anything about the classic series, and obviously Omniverse hadn't come out until now. So I just knew a lot of the UAF era, which again, you can see why it's my favorite. And then this leads us on to Chapter 3, which is basically just an extension of Chapter 2. Chapter 3, Where the Magic Happens. Now, watching the episodes on TV was one of the ways I kept up with the series, but it wasn't the only way. Introducing DVDs. Back in my day of 2012, streaming services weren't really popularized. Netflix only had about like 30 million users, which sounds like a lot, but it's nothing compared to the 230 million users it has today. Our family had a DVD player growing up, and my family taught me how to use it at a very young age to keep me entertained. And I think it worked. I mean, look at me. I'm 15 years old, I don't have a job, and I'm talking into an iPhone in my bedroom about a children's cartoon. I told you I was a mistake. I remember I had one Ben 10 DVD that I'd watch over and over again, and that was this one right here. It's upside down. This one right here. This is volume 4 of Ultimate Alien. It's not this exact CD, but it was the same one, just in a different case. Now, this DVD right here had these 5 episodes on it, and yes, these 5 episodes are widely regarded as some of the worst episodes of UA, but that didn't really stop me because, well, I was 4 years old, so I didn't really have a way of judging what a good episode is, especially since I hadn't watched much of the franchise. And since I didn't really have a way of judging it, I loved it. Then as I grew a little older, I started getting more familiar with the classic series and Omniverse and kind of how everything connected in the continuity. And now, this last story I'll tell you in this chapter is admittedly a bit embarrassing, but I'll tell it to you anyways because I love you guys. Now, you know when you were growing up and the number one thing you wanted to be was your favorite superhero. You would go around pretending to be them and copying all their moves and speech. Well, that was definitely me. I went to bed every day wishing that I would wake up with an Omnitrix just on my wrist. But of course that didn't happen. So I had to make it happen. With make-believe. Basically how the game worked is that I would slap my wrist, yell out an alien's name, and start beating up my dad. Yeah, I'd spent a lot of time growing up pretending to be my favorite aliens. And I think this game is also the reason why my ankle starts beeping whenever I start to leave the house. Don't know why it happens, but hey, whatever. For some reason my favorite alien to transform into was Ultimate Spider Monkey. Got no idea why, but hey, I enjoyed it. I will still look back at this game with fond memories. Chapter 4. Everybody talks about the weather. Now we get into the time where I'm about 5 or 6 years old and I start to get into school. And this is at the time when people would start to share their stories about being made fun of for liking Ben 10 or Pokemon or any of the other franchises in school. But for me, that didn't really happen, because I was 5 years old. See, you can't really get made fun of for liking something when you're also a part of the target audience at the time. When I was 5 years old and going into primary school, everyone else was also 5 years old and liked Ben 10. You couldn't really make fun of someone for liking Ben 10, because then you can just say, well, you like Pokemon. And that's not a diss at Pokemon. I love Pokemon. So yeah, not fitting in with other people who didn't like the franchise wasn't really a problem for me in my earlier years. I think one of the main ways that people grew up with the franchise was with the merchandise. And of course, with a franchise like Ben 10, you can make a lot of merchandise out of it. Pretty sure everyone had at least an Omnitrix growing up. I obviously have the Omniverse Omnitrix, which I use on a lot of my videos, and I did have the Alien Force Omnitrix, which lit up the holograms when you put it on there, but I've unfortunately cannot find this anymore. Now, I didn't really have many Ben 10 toys growing up, and that's because my parents didn't really want to fuel my addiction for collecting toys as much as it already was. What do I mean by that? Well, Chapter 5, The End of an Era. Now I have to be fully transparent. This chapter gets a little sad. I wasn't a Ben 10 fan at one point. 2016, I want to say. Of course it was 2016, goddammit. I had what is known as a falling out. Basically, a falling out is when someone likes something for a long time, but then they end up kind of straying away from it because they might get distracted by something else or it just loses their interest. And that's what happened with me and Ben 10. It was at the point of when I was maybe 8 years old and around 2016, and although, yes, it is when the reboot came out, it didn't really have much to do with it because I didn't really care too much about the reboot. It was mainly because of something else. Now, the reason I had a falling out was because of these games, Skylanders and Pokemon Go. Now, I'm sure you all know what Pokemon Go is. I don't think I have to explain what that is. But Skylanders, TLDR, it's a Toys to Life game where you put little toys on a portal of power, which transports them into a game to play an RPG style game. And yes, this was very cartoony in style, so it obviously appealed to my 8-year-old brain. And it's not like that I started playing Skylanders in 2016. No, I've been playing since 2012. Skylanders Giants, the second game in the franchise, was my first ever game that I played. I remember it very, very fondly. I mean, I've got figures in the back of my set. Now, even though I've been into Skylanders since 2012, my real collecting addiction started in 2016 when, weirdly enough, the last game of the series was released. And also when I discovered the bargain bin at EB Games. If you know, you know. Yeah, I collected just a bit. And then there was Pokemon Go. Basically, I saw my brother playing this game and I thought it looked cool, so I started playing as well. August 26, 2016. I remember the exact date that I made my account on Pokemon Go on my iPad. I had to play on my iPad, which of course doesn't have data, so I had to steal my brother's data to play this game. Now, just thinking about this just makes me want to go back to 2016 Pokemon Go. I really, really miss them days. And now, this does kind of admit me to be a fake fan of the Pokemon franchise, but yes, Pokemon Go is what got me into the Pokemon franchise in the first place. However, Pokemon Go is very, very important for this one reason. Again, 26th of August 2016 is the first time I typed into that username box, Rizzyrez. Yep, Pokemon Go was also the first time I ever used the Rizzyrez name, and clearly it stuck around 6 years later. Basically, it came from my real name, which is Reza, and it just kind of shortened into Rez, and I just thought of a word that sounded similar to Rez, which is Rizzy, so I just put it behind it, and then boom, Rizzyrez. Oh yeah, and also at this time, I got into playing games, mainly PlayStation games, so that also drew my attention away, again with the Rizzyrez name, so it's clearly stuck around for more than just Pokemon Go. But yeah, basically a summary of this chapter: Skylanders, Pokemon Go, and PlayStation were the 3 things to kill my Ben 10 craze. Chapter 6, Ben 10 returns. Alright, the redemption is here. 4 years after my falling out of Ben 10. Finally, I was back. 2020, the pandemic year, was the time that I got back into the franchise. It's actually kind of funny how things line up, because the episode Ben 10 Returns, which is what this chapter is named after, is when Ben comes back to the Omnitrix after 4 or 5 years of not using it. And this chapter is when I come back to the franchise after 4 or 5 years of not being interested in it. So that's pretty cool, huh? Basically, 2020 was my last year of primary school, and I had really nothing to do. I was bored out of my mind. The lockdown was taking over my school life, and online school really took a toll on me, and I couldn't really function properly at home. So I watched a lot of YouTube. I mean, a lot. But then I was scrolling through my recommended page one day, and I found a certain familiar 18-minute video that you may have watched before, with this familiar face on it. I looked to the title, which read, "Why Ben 10 Could Beat Goku, Superman, and Pretty Much Anyone." It was, of course, made by the Ink Tank, who, if you're a fan of the Ben 10 franchise, you will know that they are kind of like the Ben 10 people. I don't know what to call them, but like, they're really popular, and they commented on my video. So, hi guys, if you're watching. I was debating myself whether to watch this video, since I hadn't really been into the franchise for, again, 4 years. But the Ben 10 Angels were behind me, and they pushed me to watch this video, and that was the moment that I got hooked back into the franchise. Yep, the Ink Tank, like many others, saved my love for the Ben 10 franchise. But yeah, big thank you to you guys, love your videos. Eventually I watched all 5 of the Ben 10 series, including the reboot on the streaming service Binge, which is basically the Australian version of HBO Max, and that was the moment that I got even more hooked onto it. This takes us to 2021, which I was going into my first year of high school, and I was a little bit nervous because I didn't really know what people would think about my love of a children's show. But thankfully, my friends, they kind of accepted it, and I think that they were really, really cool with it. I think the reason though why is because pretty much everyone else at the time was watching anime, and you can't really make fun of someone for watching Ben 10 if you watch anime. No disrespect to people who watch anime, but like... So yeah, high school was pretty cool. And this takes us on to 2022, which was when my Ben 10 craze really, really got the spark. What do I mean by that? Well, Chapter 7, Fame. Now, what is the natural progression for someone who really likes the content that they watch? Well, to make that content themselves, and that's exactly what I did. The 12th of February 2022 is the date that I created the Rizzyrez channel. This is actually meant to be a second channel to a first channel that I made, which I'm not going to talk about that, but it was called RJ Make Stuff, and this channel is called RJ Like Stuff. But I'm not going to talk about RJ Make Stuff because I'm embarrassed by it, so no, you're not going to get that answered. But RJ Like Stuff was the original title because my initials are RJ and I like stuff. That was literally the intro, and you'll know that for the first 2 videos. I only uploaded 2 videos, being my Ben 10 tier list and my top 5 best Omniverse redesigns and the worst redesigns, and I didn't really think too much of it, and then I didn't upload for 6 months. But then when I checked back on the channel one day, I saw that Omniverse video had about 2,000 views, which was really, really cool to me because I hadn't thought about it in so long. And considering that 2,000 people had watched that video, kind of re-sparked my YouTube love again. So yeah, I fell out of both Ben 10 and YouTube, and then came back to it. And now that takes me to today. I did a backflip for 69 subs, and I did a room tour for 100 subs, and I even got recognized by 2 really big creators in the Ben 10 community, which I know I've already brought that up, but it's just something that I'm super proud of that I was able to do. Yeah, I don't really have anything too interesting to share on my YouTube experience because I haven't really been on the platform too long, and I haven't really grown like immensely like other creators. But instead, I'm just going to give a huge thank you to the Ink Tank for inspiring me to make this channel, as well as MNJ TV, who I've kind of like mimicked his style of making videos. So them 2 are my biggest inspirations for making YouTube videos. Chapter 8, Truth. And this brings us on to the final chapter, which is still being written. That's because this chapter is the present, and it's yet to be finished. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope this video wasn't too long. I'm not really sure how long this video actually is, but I think I've been recording for like 30 or 40 minutes, so this is going to be really fun to edit. I promise I'm going to be uploading way more soon. I've got so many ideas in the tank, and I've got so many more things other than Ben 10 to upload. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, that's really got to say for now. So until next time, I'll see you later. Peace.